So the NBA draft lottery is rigged. Or is it? No one quite knows. But there's been a lot of things that have happened in the NBA draft lottery that really just don't add up. For that reason, a lot of people think that the draft lottery is rigged. And in this video, I'm going to be going over 5 times that people were convinced that the draft lottery had been rigged. So these conspiracy theories began in 1985 for the very first NBA draft lottery. Patrick Ewing was the obvious #1 pick in this draft, and people believe that the envelope with the New York Knicks name on it was either creased or frozen. And that meant that David Stern knew which envelope to pick out to ensure that the New York Knicks had the #1 overall draft pick. This is probably the conspiracy that has the most kind of evidence to back it up, because if you watch the video of this draft lottery, I will leave a link in the description, I just can't put it on for copyright reasons here. You can see that David Stern kind of moves around the envelopes and then eventually picks up the one that has the New York Knicks name on it. This kind of would make sense because New York is the biggest TV market, they had been struggling, and a talent like Patrick Ewing would instantly make them a relevant team in the NBA. So you can see why the NBA might have wanted this. Then there was the 2001 NBA draft. Michael Jordan had come out of retirement to become the president of basketball operations for the Wizards as well as playing for them, and they only had a 15% chance of winning the NBA lottery. The Wizards actually did end up winning the NBA lottery, but selected bust Kwame Brown with the first overall pick. A lot of people believe that David Stern knew that Jordan was coming back and wanted to give the Wizards a #1 overall selection to add some excitement to the team in the capital. But as we all know, Kwame Brown didn't become an all-star, he became a bust. While he was a solid-ish NBA player, like he stayed in the league for over 10 years, was a starter on a few teams, he was never better than a role player on any team he was on, and really that was a waste of a pick. Next we have got the 2008 NBA lottery. Yes, the 2008 NBA lottery. Michael Jordan had left the Chicago Bulls 10 years at this stage, and the Bulls had been struggling. They were an average team with no superstars, had made the playoffs a couple of times but had missed it a couple of times. They weren't anything spectacular. But there were 2 superstar talents according to a lot of people in the 2008 NBA draft, Michael Beasley and Derrick Rose. Obviously Beasley was a bust, but Derrick Rose till he tore his ACL wasn't. But during the 2007-2008 season, the Chicago Bulls didn't do too badly, and they only had a 1.8% chance of winning the lottery. But as it happened, a star, Derrick Rose, who was from Chicago, was available, and Chicago Bulls, who are a massive franchise in the NBA, just happened to look out, get the #1 pick, and take the local guy who ended up being really good. The fact that there was a hometown player available in the 2008 draft and the Bulls with a 1.8% chance of winning the lottery ended up with the top pick, that's a little bit suspicious. Next we have got the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I'm not just talking about one draft here, I'm talking about 4 drafts with Cleveland Cavaliers. First of all, the Cavs had been struggling. They were going nowhere as a franchise and hadn't been good really since the days of Mark Price. But in 2003, there was one transcendent star, known by some as the chosen one, LeBron James, entering the NBA draft. Where was he from? He was from Akron, Ohio, 40 miles away from the Cleveland Cavaliers Stadium. A lot of people still believe that it could have been rigged because the league wanted to change the landscape of basketball in Cleveland by giving them a hometown hero in LeBron James, who, if was as good as expected, would have been MJ-like bringing titles to Cleveland. Then there was the 2011 draft lottery with the Cleveland Cavaliers. The year after LeBron James left South Beach, they ended up getting the #1 overall pick, but not with their own pick. They got it with the Clippers traded pick that had a 2.8% chance of winning. Yes, 2.8% chance. And they ended up getting it and picking Kyrie Irving. LeBron James had been in Miami 3 years at this stage and only had 1 year left on his contract. The Cleveland Cavaliers ended up getting the #1 overall pick, even though they only had a 15.6% chance of getting it. But with what happened next, people believed that this was just all part of a bigger plan. Obviously they picked Anthony Bennett, who was an absolute bust, but still, they got the #1 overall pick. And then the following year, the Cavs did okay. Kyrie Irving came into his own. They had traded for Luol Deng and they've been playing relatively well. They weren't the playoffs team, but they looked like they could make it the following year. The Cavs only had a 1.7% chance of getting the first pick in that draft. The Philadelphia 76ers, who tanked that year, that was the start of the process, ended up getting the 3rd pick. And the Cavs, with LeBron's free agency impending, got the #1 overall pick where they selected future superstar Andrew Wiggins. While the Cleveland Cavaliers getting the 2013 first pick wasn't that much of a surprise, the fact that they got 3 in 4 years, and 2 out of those 3 they had less than a 3% chance of getting the number 1 overall pick, and the fact that LeBron James basically used that pick to come back to Cleveland. He knew that they could trade Andrew Wiggins for another star in Kevin Love, and that definitely shaped his decision to come back to Cleveland. And lastly, we have got this year's 2017 draft lottery. So if the Los Angeles Lakers didn't get a top 3 pick, their pick would go to the Philadelphia 76ers. But let's be honest, they were never not going to get a top 3 pick. So in the end, they end up in a perfect scenario. They won't be tempted to draft Markelle Fultz. It means that they will draft Lonzo Ball with the 2nd overall pick. It's going to happen. They will draft Lonzo Ball with the 2nd overall pick, unless Boston decides to draft him for some reason, which I don't think they will. But the fact that the Lakers had less than a 50% chance of losing their pick, and everyone knew they weren't going to lose their pick. And everyone also knew that even though they had the 3rd worst record in the league, that they without doubt were not going to end up with the 3rd pick. They were getting pick number 2, and they were getting Lonzo Ball. The fact that everyone said it before the draft, LeVar Ball hadn't shut up about it, and exactly what people predicted was going to happen did happen. That's the reason why a lot of people think that the 2017 draft lottery was rigged. But can we really prove anything? No, we can't. They do it behind closed doors, and there is nothing that anyone can do to tell whether the draft lottery is rigged or not. But at the same time, for all of these coincidences, there's a lot of times where big market teams don't get good picks. For example, the Philadelphia 76ers only getting the 1st overall pick with Ben Simmons after tanking for 3 years. This year, the New York Knicks falling to the number 8 pick. So you never know what's going to happen in the NBA draft. Some think it's rigged, others think it's just luck of the ping pong balls. But who knows? We're never going to find out, but it is always a fun topic to research. So anyway, that's the video. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.